Hi, welcome guys. I'm Whitey. Today I'm going to do a review of the film School Ties, which I had done. It's on my channel where I did a review with Cracker over at Hey Internet, or Eric over at Hey Internet. Eric here, who I call Cracker affectionately. So anyway, this film School Ties came out in 91 or 92, 90, somewhere in the early 90s. It's Brendan Fraser, and Brendan Fraser is about to become a high school senior, and he grows up in like Pittsburgh or some kind of city, and he's popular in his hometown. He's a successful football quarterback at the high school football team there, but it's a very blue collar town. A prep school, like a big fancy rich kid school, football coach saw the cat just walked in. Is like talking about school ties. Yeah, I saw school ties, man. That's how that shit went down. Come on, buddy. Where's my buddy gone? He's a tabby. Big old goddamn cat. Okay, so that's not tabby. That's your seashell. Some shit. I don't remember. So anyway, so Brendan Fraser he gets recruited to this big fancy private school thing to play quarterback for them. The only problem is, shh, he's Jewish. But his while the guys in the neighborhood, like his buddies on the football team, they accept him and they know him and they love him and it's great. Just as he's getting ready to leave, he gets into a fight because a group of bikers, I think they were even on motorcycles, come up and some guy gives him crap about being Jewish. His loyal buddies he's known way back defend him, but it's something he's got to deal with, because he's Jewish. He gets negative attention from people from town to town. And it's implied that's not the first time it's happened. He gets into some fisticuffs, and he's got some cuts and bruises on his first day to this big fancy prep school. So his dad, who's like a blue collar guy, I think he's like the foreman at the factory kind of thing, is like, you can't, you got to keep this quiet. We don't look Jewy, like in quotes. That's not in quotes. That's paraphrasing. Um, But you can't get into fights over this stuff. You get this shot where a bunch of blue collar slobs. You get in this shot where a bunch of the kids that go to this private schools, you'll find out, end up going to like Harvard, Stanford, and Yale. This is something that I can never provide you. So you need to take this opportunity to get into a big college and get this family out of the dumps. So Brendan Fraser goes to the school, and he doesn't mention that he's Jewish to anybody, and he meets a whole slew of young actors who would go on to be very successful. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are in this. Cole Hauser's in this. The guy who would go on to play Robin in the George Clooney Batman and Robin. What's that kid's name? Jerky McJerkenberg or something. He's been in a bunch of movies since. But a slew of these young actors you've seen in other stuff. They blew up not long after this. And Brendan Fraser as well. So he conceals his identity, but and by and large things go well. So he gets on he's a quarterback of the football team. They're winning football games. He meets a hot blonde chick. She's really into him. They get a nice relationship going on. He's hanging out with his buddies. He gets along with everybody. But Matt Damon's character thought that he was the heir apparent to be the quarterback on the team, and then I think was after the same chick kind of thing. And so when Brendan Fraser kind of takes his spotlight in a bunch of ways, he starts to hold a grudge. And then when they're at some kind of parent student gathering event thing, some guy lets it slip that Brendan Fraser is Jewish. Matt Damon hears that, and then Matt Damon tells everybody that Brendan Fraser is Jewish. And now all the wheels fall off the train. And then Matt Damon, he is cheating on a test. He has like a little card with the answers in it up his sleeve, but drops it. Teacher finds it and says, you have to tell me who did this, or I'm failing all you guys. And they've established in the film that that can knock you out of Harvard or Yale and Princeton and all this if you have an F on your report card. So they get together to have a meeting to decide. Um, Matt Damon accuses Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser accuses Matt Damon. Who to turn in is the guy who did it and screw over that guy's life. Um, and then I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to ruin it. But Brendan Fraser has to deal with a lot of anti-Semitic stuff. As a byproduct of being Jewish is basically the crux of the story. The girlfriend doesn't want to see him anymore and all this. It's a good looking film for early 90s. The actors are all really good. They all went on to go do a lot of things. Even some like the lesser knowns, they've been just in a bunch of movies. And it's all really good and stuff, writing and all this, but he's Jewish and he's the quarterback. He's a Jewish kid. And so this takes place, it looks like about maybe the 30s or 40s or something, maybe the 50s, somewhere in there. Just by the football gear they were wearing, maybe the 50s, somewhere between like the 30s and the 50s. But I know just offhand there were Jewish families that didn't all work at banks and didn't come from a lot of money, that grew up on Hard Knocks. Not everybody was born in Hollywood, but I just he's a Jewish kid who comes from a blue collar neighborhood who's a starting quarterback, and it's like, okay. And he's tall and handsome, athletic, and he's got a cannon for an arm. And they're winning the games, and he gets a hot blonde chick, and I'm like, hey, does he sprout wings later? And then, he rubbed the lamp and the genie grin and the whistle. Like, dude, this is a stretch, bro. Like, I'm sorry. Now, I know that back in the day, there were a lot of Jewish kids who were, like, in the era of basketball where you shot it like this. Some Jewish kids were successful and some Italian kids. And they're like, why is it always the Jewish kids and the Italian kids? And there was that fighter who was Jewish, my point is there's been successful Jewish athletes, but it's like you're accepting me to really believe a lot in the tall, handsome quarterback Jewish kid with an arm who's comes from the Hard Knocks, and it's just like it's too we're pushing. This is there's some Jewish, I don't know who wrote this, but some Jewish kid is like, and then I was tall and handsome, and I'm writing that in the script, and I had an excellent arm as a quarterback, and a hot blonde chick, and then they took it all away, and I'm like, So the problem there in too is like, this is back in the day. Let me look at when this was supposed to be, but I went to a small city that had a small football program. My junior year, our last game was just like 19 guys. 5 of them at least were like schmucks who, despite that, didn't play. Like we're our defense, when offense and defense switched, I think it was a safety or a corner went off, and our quarterback came trotting on, and that was it. So school ties. Let's go about. There we go. 1992 is when the film came out. But let's see. Plot. Set in the 1950s. Okay. I'll read this. School Ties tells the story of David Green, a working class Jewish teenager from Scranton, Pennsylvania, who's given a football scholarship to an exclusive Massachusetts prep school for his senior year due to his grades and ability to play football. Mostly his ability to play football. Upon his arrival, he meets teammates Rip Van Kelt, Charlie Dillon, Jack Connors, and his roommate Chris Price, played by Chris O'Donnell, who I was trying to think of earlier, who are big men on the campus as well and most well known and popular students from well to do families learn of the school's cherished honor code. Soon learning that his new friends are prejudiced against Jews, he suppresses his background. David becomes the team hero and wins the attention of the beautiful debutante Sally Wheeler, whom Dylan claims is his girlfriend. That's the Matt Damon character. In the afterglow of victory over the school's chief rival, St. Luke's, Dylan inadvertently discovers that David is Jewish. Out of jealousy, Dylan makes this widely known, causing Sally and his teammates to turn against David. Soon after, he finds a sign bearing on his above his bed bearing a swastika and the words "Go Home Jew." David is constantly harassed by classmates led by Richard Magoo Collins, Anthony Rapp, and his bodyguard-like roommate Chesty Smith, played by Ben Affleck. Only Reese and other unnamed student remain loyal to Green. Yeah, that's about it. But again, so 1950s, my grandpa was in his 30s or something. I mean, my dad wouldn't be born for another 13 years. I don't know what life was like and I grew up in Podunk, Cornfield, USA. Like I was saying about football. So I don't know how big fancy prep school in Massachusetts in the 1950s were. It's a different time now, but for me, as an offensive lineman, and this his buddy back home kind of looked like me, and was an offensive lineman. If you walked out on the field with a swastika under your helmet, I don't care. Or no, not swastika. The yarmulke, I don't care. I'm sick of getting pummeled blocking for a quarterback who can't find an open target a pink sign of his name. I'm open. Getting our butts kicked week in, week out. So I don't care. Are you black, Hispanic? Are you Jewish? Are you Arab? Are you let's go get some wins, man. So these kids don't have a successful program, which is why they bring in this Jewish kid. And again, it was a different time. Maybe I'm a nice guy, but I'm just like, you're asking me to believe too many stretches here. He's got to be tall and handsome. He's from a blue collar thing. He ends up with the hottest white chick they got. And it's like some Jewish guy was just like, this is my jerk off fantasy. I want to be tall and handsome and all this and a beautiful girl. And I'm the cannon arm quarterback. Everybody loves me, but because I'm Jewish, yada, yada. I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy the wholesale 180 that everybody on campus would turn against. Now, if it was your first day and they didn't know you, but he's been there for months, he knows these guys. His buddies aren't gonna step up and back him up. Maybe I've never been popular. I've never hung out with the popular kids, but I would believe this at a 3 or a 4, but they're asking me to believe it at 11. I have to accept all of this. That the whole school's gonna known you for months. So again, maybe anti-Semitism was a thing that mattered back then. Maybe it still does. You could go find it. Maybe I'm so out of the loop. I don't know. But if we just beat the crosstown rival, we got a winning season rolling. You gotta have some buddies on that football team back you up, and that's something that whoever wrote this doesn't know anything about football. The people who made the film don't know anything about football. That was clear. But he has to be the tall, handsome quarterback. But it's like in a locker room, your center's going to have your back. So if suddenly your quarterback comes out that he's Jewish, your center's going to have your back. how can I was a center on the football team. So if I suddenly found out that my boy Hayes back there was Jewish, I'd still have his back. Why? I'm blocking in high school 275-pound behemoths. I'm coming home bleeding. I'm coming home sore every game. I'm playing both sides. We're playing Ironman football. And hey, that guy's Jewish. I don't care. So long as you hit a guy in a slot coming down the post, skinny post, hook, what was it? Hook, post, hitch, post, hook, post. I don't know. I was a lineman. I can't see everybody bails on him. And he's got no loyalty in his corner after everything else established in the film. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So that he has some detractors and people, some of the guys he knows bails on him, and the people in the school that he doesn't know will turn on him. I can believe that. But none of his boys got his back. That's just not how dudes work. That's not how football players work. If one of my guys, if my guy on the football team, and this would have been a big deal at the time, came out and said I'm gay, I'm like, you got your hands under my butt next to my crotch all day. I don't care. You're my quarterback. That's how that works. I'm the center. You're the quarterback. My job, the thing I was born to do, is protect you from these big, ugly, gnarly dudes. Blitzing linebackers. I step in front of him. This huge old linebacker comes plowing through. I got to get in front of him, blast this guy. And, I'm coming home with busted up ribs and busted up shoulders to protect you. It's my function. Come out as gay, come out as Jewish, come out as trans, cross-dress, whatever. You're my quarterback. That's how that works. I'm going to protect you. That's my job. So that he lost friends because they found he was Jewish, I believe it. That the campus at large turned on him, I believe it. But nobody had his back because he's Jewish? Maybe it was a different time. Maybe, but that whoever wrote this, my gripe is they don't understand football. You're going out there and tearing your body apart for the man next to you. So they're not going to be so quick to bail on him. But they put that in the first part of the film because that's who had his back in his hometown was his center. That made sense. But where's the center when he gets over here? You know what I mean? So more guys would have had his back from a football team, from wrestling team, basketball. Those are your guys. I ran my left guard after not seeing him for like 15 years. And he was talking to this chick, and he's like, this was my center. It wasn't this is Whitey. This was my center. We haven't played football since the 90s. It was like 2000 was my last year I played, my junior year. I haven't played it down with them since. It was almost 20 years later. This is my center. That's how I got introduced. That's how that works. That's that world. This is my quarterback back here. You got to come through me to get to him. It's in my DNA to protect that man. So, my quarterback in high school could have come out as a cross-dresser or a gay dude. Being Jewish ain't the thing that it was back in the day. Maybe there's still a lot of anti-Semitism. I don't know. I don't think it would have bothered too many people if we had a Jewish guy in our classroom or something. I don't know. But it don't matter because that's my quarterback. So in my senior year, obviously these guys just met him that year. My senior year of football, the guy I've been blocking for 4 years, he can do pretty much anything goddamn thing he wants. That's the point. That's my job. To make sure he can do anything he wants. I'm protecting my quarterback back there. So, again, the film asks you to accept some stretches. And then Brendan Frazier, who's got a tough job to do on this one because he has to look like a white guy, a WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. I got that, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Yeah, he's got to look like a WASP. Blend in with these guys. But he's Jewish. And then he's got to be hurt that, everybody turns on him. But he's the quarterback. He's the quarterback. He's used to getting his guts blasted in. It's like when Kristen Cavallari. This is a good thing. Kristen Cavallari, who's a model, talks about how hard her life is, and then Jay Cutler, who's an NFL quarterback, is just like, we got different standards for a hard day. Okay, Brendan Frazier ain't gonna be no 4-year starter at the quarterback position and a successful quarterback, and then suddenly be like, oh boo hoo, he's a quarterback. You got to be tougher than this, son. If you're gonna go out there and win some football games and get recruited by a big time prep school, you ain't some schmuck. You ain't some little daffodil. You ain't some azalea gonna get trampled on. You're a quarterback. And so, yeah, if people bail, fuck you. I'm gonna go hang out with my center. I'm gonna go hang out with my guys, and they would have your back. That's your quarterback. So if that were me, and that was our locker room, we would. I could see some guys in our locker room being flaky and bailing, but the core of guys would have their boys back. It's the nature of the game, man. It's not just a sport. It's in your DNA to play it. It's why you're there. It's why you get your guts blasted out every day. It's why I still got bad knees. Because, it's just who you are. It's a warrior mentality. And that's the guy in your clan. That's the guy in your tribe. So, but the way he plays it is just too pouty. And it's just like, oh, woe is me. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if the hot blonde chick split on him, he's the tall, handsome quarterback. He'd be like, okay, later, bitch. I'm going to go get some poontang over here. And so they had this. Of course, you got to have your cake and eat it too, because he at one point he's talking about, yeah, I would like to get Harvard as much as anybody, but if I don't get into Harvard, I'm not going to croak myself over it. So he's got a very realist mentality coming from a blue collar family. But then the way he handles it is this sad little as daffodil. Oh, woe's me, and I'm just like, which is it? I come from hard knocks. I come from blue collar hard knocks. And when I've never been Johnny Popular in my life. But if somebody was like, I don't like you, I'd be like, well, here's my complaint box. You want to pucker up and give it a kiss? I don't give a shit. From hard knocks, son. I was on the football team, the wrestling team. Like, come at me. I want to fuck some people up. And so this guy is supposed to come from blue collar and football quarterback. He's supposed to be really pretty damn good. You're going to have more self-confidence and self-assurance and indifference to the douchebags in the universe, having walked a mile in those shoes. So he just plays it to nana nana boo boo, like, me, I'm Jewish. And it's like, but you said you dealt with this before. So it's like everything about him contradicts everything he does. Everything he's coming from, he should have had a much more I give a fuck. And his guys would have had it. I'm sorry, I know it's Hollywood and you primarily comprised of Jewish people, and we got all the victimology you gotta brainwash everybody in. I get this, but you don't know football and you don't know hard knocks. And that's why you wrote it the way you did, because you think that makes sense. But it doesn't. So I could do this all day. That's my gripe. Solid looking film, good performances from everybody. You're asking me to accept some stretches and suspend some disbelief. I'm like, but the writing is crisp. Structure, tone, pacing, it's good writing. The score wasn't nails on the chalkboard nor great, but it was the film as a whole was well put together, well done. It's an enjoyable film. Go watch it. School Ties, I recommend it. But I'm just having walked a mile, not being Jewish, being Irish, but having walked a mile in this guy's shoes in terms of blue collar hard knocks, having not been a popular kid, growing up in football culture. The way he handled the situation would have been different. Tall, handsome quarterback walks in the room, having the success he's had, got recruited by this big prep school. You come walking in with the yarmulke and the Jewish medallion thing he was hiding, and you say, "I'm your fucking quarterback. Deal with it," because that's who you are as a quarterback. And then your center's, some guy gets in your face and starts calling you heathen shit. Your center steps between you and him and says, "You want him? You got to come through me, because that's who your center is." That's how you end up getting playing center. That your left guard's gonna be here, your right guard's gonna be your center here, tackles on both flanks, and your tight end's gonna come in and fuck that kid up. It's called football. Whoever wrote this doesn't know anything about it, but I do, and I'm telling you, it wouldn't go down like this. I don't care if it was the 1950s. So the campus at large turns on this kid, yeah. The pretty girl walks away, absolutely. Women are not known for being loyal from anything. But your center ain't going anywhere. He's your center. That's the point. So other than that, go check it out. Skull Ties, Brendan Fraser, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Cole Hauser, a whole slew of people in this. Chris McDonald. It's really well written. Looks, works great. I just had some fun. Cheers and good journey.